Hello, Coach Burt and Coach Burt staff. My name is Maxwell, and I want to share a brief story with you before I tell you a little bit about myself. But this is a story my grandmother used to share with me, and it is a story of a widow and her two sons. You see, upon the death of her husband, even though he was a good man, he served the Lord. He actually worked under the leadership of the prophet in that town, but he left his family in a mass amount of debt. And so the creditors actually showed up to her home seeking what was owed to them, and she could not pay them anything. So they said to her, well, if you cannot pay us, we're going to take your sons from you and we're going to throw them into slavery. With great fear, she ran to the town prophet and she talked to him about what had taken place. And he says to her, what do you have in your home? And she was like, I have nothing. I'm a widow. I don't have any money. And she says, but I do have a small bottle of oil. And he says, well, you and your sons go to your neighborhood, go up and down the streets and collect empty jars, and then go back to your home and begin to fill those empty jars with a small bottle of oil. So she takes this coachable moment and she just goes back to the town and does everything that he instructed. And when she gets back to her home, one after another, she begins to fill the empty jars. So she tells her son, hand me another jar. And he says, Mom, there is no more jars. And all of a sudden, the bottle was empty. So she goes back to the prophet and tells the prophet everything that she had did. And he says, now go and take the jars and sell them and pay off your debts. And then you and your sons live off the rest. I tell you that story is because it's very near and dear to my heart, and I've actually collected a whole lot of jars along my journey. The first jar is filled up now, but this is a jar of my family. I grew up in a single parent home, and my mom had 5 children, but she had a lot of temptations and a lot of trials that she faced as a young mother, and so my grandmother stepped up and she actually began to raise us for a good portion of my life. And from her, I shared a lot of ideas, a lot of thoughts, a lot of things that I wanted in my own family. Things that I get to partake in and do now because I am a husband to the woman that is recording this video. And we also have 2 young children, a 19-month daughter and also a 6-month son. But I collect pictures, and the ideas and the thoughts that I've had with my grandmother are in this jar. The second jar is the jar of continuing my education and continuing learning. I went to the Lipscomb University, a dream of mine to go on to college. Now, while at Lipscomb University, there were people that really didn't look like me. And in fact, the people that did look like me either had an athletic scholarship to play basketball, or they were doing some type of other sports. But many people thought that I was on a basketball team, so I just kind of ran with it. But that's not why I went there. I went to Lipscomb University because I wanted to surround myself with people of interest and people of influence that I knew that was going to have my best interest in mind to take me to a higher level. And there was a guy there, which was my head resident, that gave me an opportunity to be a floor cleaner. And that's not a job that many people wanted to have, but it was a job that I graciously accepted because it helped me pay my way through college. This third jar is a jar that I keep notes in, that I write down things when I go to a conference or when I'm reading a great book, and I'm just really pouring myself into learning. And I just jot things down. I don't just write about it or get on my phone and tweet about it, but I write things down and I put in this jar so I can always go back and relearn the things that I have wrote down. Now, the story about the widow, and this is what really makes me different from the story of the widow, and what I believe makes me different from a lot of other people, is that I believe that what if the widow had one more jar? I believe she would have been more profitable. So I collect empty jars. I have many empty jars around my home because what I believe is that the bottle of oil would have continued to flow if she had more empty jars. And so I take these empty jars and I'm looking for what's going to be the next thing? What is going to be the other thing that's going to be able to fill this jar up to take me to another level? So, Coach Burt, what I believe you are and what you represent is this small bottle of oil. I believe that this is a representation of your success. This is a representation of you being an author, you being a great man, you being a leader, a visionary. I believe that this represents your strength and your wisdom and your coaching. So what I want to ask you, Coach, is will you be the small bottle of oil that will help fill up this jar?